You know, life is nothing but illusions. And those illusions are up to us to decipher and discern what is the truth, yo. Ladies and gentlemen, the world stage is being set, the beast system is in play, and the optics are high. And that is the truth, yo. I'm Snafu Snaps, you guys are the SnafuKrew, the glue, each and every one of you. And remember, the optics will continue to ramp. SnafuKrew, the optics are high, the optics are high. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Jacob Rothschild, they are reporting, has passed away. Now, we know that the symbology, the central bank system, all the crazy optics with these people, including the satanic agendas in play, the New World Order, beast system world, lined with political countries around the world. We're going to look into some optics because there are some optics about certain elites that are either no longer with us, or they're saying are no longer with us, or things are happening. And again, it's not that I just want to show optics. I'm not no Q person. I'm not into all that. But what I am saying is there are optics in play. There is a transition of power. The world stage is being set. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this messaging, the things that are happening in the world stage, the optics are high and they're ramping up. Let's take a look at some messaging just in general, because again, this is transition of powers. This is New World Order minus Hulk Hogan, beast system optics in play, and it's in front of our faces for all to see. And the messaging is there. Just look for it.
Everything you touch, you kill. All the soap in the world won't wash away. All the blood that's on your hands is there to steal. Hey man, what's the use? There's no talking to you when you think it's God's words that you preach. From a book
1972, the Rothschild family organized a surrealist ball at their opulent chateau in France. Invitations were uniquely presented with a dress code typed backward. Black tie, long dresses, and surrealist heads. As guests arrived, servants and footmen, meowing and pawing at each other, lined the staircase at the entrance. Among the attendees, the iconic Audrey Hepburn, seen in a birdcage, participated in the event designed with the assistance of surrealist painter Salvador Dali. A vivid account of the ball includes descriptions of fur-covered plates, tables adorned with taxidermied tortoises, and food served on a mannequin corpse resting on a bed of roses. It's noteworthy that during the 19th century, the Rothschild family possessed the world's largest private fortune. In contemporary times, they remain subjects of various conspiracy theories and are known for maintaining a private lifestyle.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, when you talk about these elites, remember keeping it in the family, the bloodlines. The optics are high. They're very into the ritualistic, pure blood, as they say, New World Order beast system agendas in play, but they've been telling you the whole time.
And Baron James was head of the Paris branch, the youngest of the five sons of Baron Rothschild, gave an astonishing, uninhibited description of the 19th century Rothschild policy of keeping it in the family. I'll take you to what he read at this time. In our family, we've always tried to keep love in the family. In this sense, it was more or less understood in the family that children were never king of marrying five sons, so our fortune will never be. You couldn't write that today.
The question of how and why the United Nations is the crux of the great conspiracy to destroy the sovereignty of the United States and the enslavement of the American people within a UN one-world dictatorship is a complete and unknown mystery to the vast majority of the American people. The reason for this unawareness of the frightening danger to our country and to the entire free world is simple. The masterminds behind this great conspiracy have absolute control of all of our mass communications media, especially television, the radio, the press, and Hollywood. We all know that our State Department, the Pentagon, and the White House have brazenly proclaimed that they have the right and the power to manage the news, to tell us not the truth, but what they want us to believe. They have seized that power on orders from their masters of the great conspiracy. And the objective is to brainwash the people into accepting the phony peace bait, to transform the United States into an enslaved unit of the United Nations one world government. Is that our so-called leaders in Washington, whom we elected to safeguard our nation and our Constitution, are the betrayers, and that behind them are a comparatively small group of men whose sole objective is to enslave the whole world of humanity in their satanic plot of one world government. Now, as a matter of further intelligence, a term used by the FBI, let me clarify the meaning of the expression, "he is a liberal." The enemy, meaning the one-world conspirators, have seized upon that word liberal as a cover-up for their activities. It sounds so innocent and so humanitarian to be liberal. Well, make sure that the person who calls himself a liberal or is described as a liberal is not in truth a red. Now then, This satanic plot was launched back in the 1760s when it first came into existence under the name of the Illuminati. This Illuminati was organized by one Adam Weishaupt, born a Jew, who was converted to Catholicism and became a Catholic priest, and then, at the behest of the then newly organized House of Rothschild, defected and organized the Illuminati. Naturally, the Rothschilds financed that operation. And every war since then, beginning with the French Revolution, has been promoted by the Illuminati, operating under various names and guises. In the United States, they set up what they called the Council on Foreign Relations, commonly referred to as the CFR. And this CFR is actually the Illuminati in the United States. And its hierarchy, the masterminds in control of the CFR, to a very great extent, are the descendants of the original Illuminati conspirators. But to conceal that fact, most of them changed their original family names to American-sounding names. For example, the true name of the Dillons, Clarence and Douglas Dillon, once Secretary of the U.S. Treasury Department, is Lepowski. There is a similar establishment of the Illuminati in England, operating under the name of the British Institute of International Affairs. There are similar secret Illuminati organizations in France, Germany, and other nations, operating under different names. But at all times, the operations of these organizations were and are masterminded and controlled by the internationalist bankers, who in turn were and are controlled by the Rothschilds. Now, just why did the conspirators choose the word Illuminati for their satanic organization? Weishaupt himself said that the word is derived from Lucifer and means holders of the light, using the lie that his objective was to bring about a one-world government to enable those with mental ability to govern the world and prevent all wars in the future. In short, using the word peace on earth as his bait. Perhaps the most vital directive in Weishaupt's plan was to obtain absolute control of the press, so that all news and information could be slanted, so that the masses could be convinced that a one-world government is the only solution to our many and varied problems. Now do you know who owns and controls our mass communications media? I'll tell you, practically all the movie lots in Hollywood is owned by the Lehmans, Kuhn Loeb and Company, Goldman Sachs, and other internationalist bankers. All the national radio and TV channels in the nation are owned and controlled by those same internationalist bankers. In 1834, the Italian revolutionary leader Giuseppe Mazzini was selected by the Illuminati to direct their revolutionary program throughout the world. Mazzini had enticed an American general named Albert Pike into the Illuminati. Pike was fascinated by the idea of a one-world government, and ultimately he became the head of this Luciferian conspiracy. Between 1859 and 1871, Pike, worked out a military blueprint for 3 world wars and various revolutions throughout the world, which he considered would forward the conspiracy to its final stage in the 20th century. Long before Marconi invented radio, the scientists in the Illuminati had found the means for Pike and the heads of his councils to communicate secretly. It was the discovery of that secret that enabled intelligence officers to understand how apparently unrelated incidents one such as the assassination of an Austrian prince at Sarajevo, took place simultaneously throughout the world, which developed into a war or a revolution. Pike's plan was as simple as it has proved effective. It called for communism, Nazism, political Zionism, and other international movements be organized and used to foment 3 global world wars and at least 2 major revolutions. World War III is to be fomented by using the so-called controversies the agents of the Illuminati, operating under whatever new name, are now stirring up between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Muslim world. That war is to be directed in such a manner that all of Islam and political Zionism, Israel, will destroy each other, while at the same time the remaining nations, once more divided on this issue, will be forced to fight themselves into a state of complete exhaustion, physically, mentally, spiritually, and economically. Now, can any thinking person doubt that the intrigue now going on in the Near, Middle, and Far East is designed to accomplish that satanic objective? Pike himself foretold all this in a statement he made to Mazzini on August 15, 1871. Pike stated that after World War III is ended, those who will inspire to undisputed world domination will provoke the greatest social cataclysm the world has ever known. Quoting his own words, taken from the letter he wrote to Mazzini, and which letter is now catalogued in the British Museum in London, England, he said, "We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a great social cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to all nations the effect of absolute atheism, the origin of savagery and of most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the people forced to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitudes disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will be from that moment on without direction and leadership, and anxious for an ideal but without knowledge where to send its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out into public view, a manifestation which will result from a general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Anyway, the ending of the Civil War destroyed, temporarily, all chances of the House of Rothschild to get a clutch on our money system, such as they had acquired in Britain and other nations in Europe. I say temporarily because the Rothschilds and the masterminds of the conspiracy never quit. So they had to start from scratch, but they lost no time in getting started. Shortly after the Civil War, a young immigrant who called himself Jacob H. Schiff arrived in New York. Jacob was a young man with a mission for the House of Rothschild. Jacob was the son of a rabbi, born in one of Rothschild's houses in Frankfurt, Germany. After a comparatively brief training period in the Rothschilds' London bank, Jacob left for America with instructions to buy into a banking house, which was to be the springboard to acquire control of the money system of the United States. Actually, Jacob came here to carry out 4 specific assignments. Number 1, and most important, was to acquire control of America's money system. Number 2, find desirable men who, for a price, would be willing to serve as stooges for the great conspiracy and promote them into high places in our federal government, our Congress, in the U.S. Supreme Court, and all federal agencies. Number 3, create minority group strife throughout the nations, particularly between whites and blacks. Number 4, create a movement to destroy religion in the United States, but Christianity to be the chief target. In the final phases of the conspiracy, the one world government will consist of the king dictator, head of the United Nations, the CFR, and a few billionaires, economists, and scientists who have proved their devotion to the great conspiracy. All others are to be integrated into a vast conglomeration of mongrelized humanity, actually slaves.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we know about the owl and the optics. Think of Randonautica and the, what do you call it, quantum physics technology being used. But again, also Bohemian Grove. The owl is symbolic, okay? And with this death of, or supposed death of Rothschild, right, we've noticed some very symbolic messaging as of late. Let's take a look. This was just a few days. Now, again, he died, and supposedly 3 days later is when they released information of his death. But let's look at some optics.
An eagle owl flew through New York for over a year, but now Flacco has died, according to the Central Park Zoo. He probably crashed into a building. According to the report, employees of the Wildlife Rescue Service WBF recovered his body.
Is it coincidental that a famous owl all of a sudden dead, and in the reports had blood under one of the eyes, so one-eyed, so to speak? Interesting optics. Now, if you guys remember the two horses, the white horse, the pale horse story, religiously in scriptures, well, check this out. This is interesting. All right, I feel this was important to cover because it's going to deal with the political and the whole Q bullshit and all this weird shit you're seeing with intelligence and data collection and the whole world. Transition of powers mixed with the religious aspect and the ritualistic symbology that we're all witnessing. And I thought this post was appropriate, even if I don't agree on certain things like the whole anon and all that, but they're witnessing the optics. So reptilian overlord and head of the Rothschild cabal central banking system, Jacob Rothschild, is announced dead today, which is also the 13th February on the Julian calendar. The Rothschilds own nearly every single central bank on the earth. Okay? Q lists the names of Rothschild central banks in the drops. A few days ago, DJT posted on Instagram a picture of China Joe in a head cone. Then on the same day, Sky News reported that King Tampex is laughing at Get Well card with a dog in the head cone, which was dog comms. The dogs have their day. Now again, the whole Q thing, I believe, is a psyop in itself. Okay, a news source propaganda in its own terms. Okay, we won't get into that. Again, this is not my post, this is someone else's, but it deals with the optics and play of the transitions that you're witnessing. Then it says, someone in chat has mentioned that a white horse, which we're going to show you, paraded on the mall in London yesterday, which was huge, okay? People don't see that. The King's Horse in London or whatever. But anyways, it says, behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat upon it was Death, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. One of the horsemen that were parading yesterday was holding a black flag wrapped around a pole. Apparently, this only comes out when there is a death. This last time we seen was Queen Lizard when she had her funeral in 2022, they said. Also, they talk about the owl, which we covered. Now, this is important, right? All these people, okay, and this is just a small list, right, that are no longer here or dying recently, right, blah, 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 blah. And there's more on that list, like Harry Kissinger, Feinstein, all these other people, like, going down or shit's happening or being exposed, all right? But remember, we saw a lot of the resistance with Anne Heshaway, Isaac Cappy, the whole war in Ukraine, sex trafficking, all this other weird stuff, blah, blah. We're going to go into it, all right? The Zionist optics are high. Anyways, remember the Rothschilds were personally addressed by the British government. 1917 Balfour Declaration. The document laid the foundations for a Zionist state in Palestine. We're going to look at that. They were, and that's where all these other countries come into play with Israel and many optics. They were among the leading figures in the early Zionist movement, blah, 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 blah.
Now, I've just seen something super rare in the middle of the Mall in central London. This is incredible. Now, from what I can see, this is the Blues and Royals Regiment carrying the colour. Now, this is super rare. You don't often see this at all. Just popped out of nowhere. So I wonder what's going on. This is incredible. So we're in the middle of central London, just off St James's Park on the Mall. Now, often the White Horse comes out when the King is present, but for what I can see, the King isn't around at the moment, and how I know that is the royal standard should be flying, but it's not flying right now. It's a Union flag that's flying, so I don't know why we're seeing what we're seeing right now. Just incredible. Now it looks like the colour, which is the flag, is covered in a waterproof outer, like a coat. So that indeed is to protect the colour if it is raining. Now why these three guards are riding down the middle of the Mall right now, I have no idea. That was a complete surprise. So this is definitely a rare sighting, as the monarch is not in today. Never ever seen this happen before. Quite incredible. This is the Blues and Royals Regiment. Did not expect to see this. Lots of people already waiting for changing of the guard. But they definitely weren't expecting to see this. So we're just approaching Buckingham Palace, and we will see where they go. Stunning day today here in London. It's fresh, it's crisp, the sun is out. The helmets gleaming in the sunshine. Now looks like they're going to the right of the palace.
In modern Jewish history, and it begins with three words: Dear Lord Rothschild.
Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you, on behalf of His Majesty's government, the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet.
Why was it that this letter was sent by the Foreign Secretary to your great-uncle Walter?
It's an interesting question, because it was primarily a movement from Eastern Europe, but they didn't clarify who was in charge of that movement. And in addition, it was, after all, in Great Britain. So they felt that the Rothschild family should be the one to whom it was addressed. And Walter was Lord Rothschild, and he was a Zionist. And those really are the background reasons.
So Walter received the Balfour Declaration, and I have a copy here. And I wonder if I could possibly ask you to read it for us.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. I'm going to put on my spectacles to make sure I read it accurately. His Majesty's government view with favour the establishment of Palestine as a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavours to facilitate the achievement of this object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. Yours, Arthur Balfour.
And here it is, the Balfour Declaration. What do you feel when you see it here?
I genuinely feel it's one of the most extraordinary moments in the history of the Jewish people. If you think it took 3,000 years to get to this, and then you say, how did this miracle happen? It's the most incredible piece of opportunism. I mean, if you think you had an impoverished would-be scientist, Chaim Weizmann, who somehow gets to England, meets a few people, including members of my family, seduces them. He has such great charm and conviction. He gets to Balfour, and he unbelievably persuades Balfour and Lloyd George, the Prime Minister, and most of the ministers, that this idea of the national home for Jews should be allowed to take place. I mean, it's so unlikely. And then he starts to fight a difficult battle with the British cabinet, and this letter goes through 5 drafts, as you know. And in the end, it comes out as a rather compromising letter. I mean, the essential point is there for the Jewish community to fasten on to. You have the first bit, which promises a national home rather than the national home. And then you have the bit that nothing that's to be done should in any way harm the Arab community. But you come back to the big point, which is that this is perhaps the greatest event in Jewish life for thousands of years. And it's a miracle.
Now here's where we go into detail how this is hitting the political world stage of transition of powers. Just because you believe in angels, you best believe in the demons. Just because you've been blessed, you best know that there's a reason why it's called blessed. And unfortunately, the fall of Babylon, the transition of powers, we're witnessing the optics in real time. And let's take a look at some of those optics.
I am an active duty member of the United States Air Force, and I will no longer be complicit in genocide. I'm about to engage in an extreme act of protest, but compared to what people have been experiencing in Palestine at the hands of their colonizers, it's not extreme at all. This is what our ruling class has decided will be normal.
sir, he has it. Another one, another one. Hey, I don't need guns, I need fire. Put him out, sorry. Go. Keep on. Hey, I'm going on the board. What is this? I need fireboard. Hold on. What is this? Who is this?
Я хочу еще раз все-таки подчеркнуть это. Я говорил, но мне очень бы хотелось, чтобы вы меня услышали все-таки в конце концов. И донесли это до своих читателей, зрителей и пользователей в интернете. Но вы понимаете или нет, что если Украина будет в НАТО и военным путем будет возвращать себе Крым, европейские страны автоматически будут втянуты в военный конфликт с Россией. Конечно, потенциал объединенной организации НАТО и России несопоставим. Мы понимаем. Но мы также и понимаем, что Россия одна из ведущих ядерных держав. По некоторым компонентам, по современности даже многих опережает. Победителей не будет. И вы окажетесь втянутыми в этот конфликт помимо своей воли. И вы даже не успеете глазом моргнуть, когда будете исполнять пункт 5 Римского договора. Господин президент, конечно, не хочет этого развития. И я не хочу. Поэтому здесь и находится, и мучает меня уже 6 часов подряд.
And sometimes that's with intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. And sometimes that offer is there to execute joint patrols. It's really up to the sovereign desire of our ally. The Secretary of Defense has been quite clear that a hostile act against an ally while exercising its sovereign EEZ rights represents grounds for a declaration of our Treaty 5, of our Article 5 responsibilities in accordance with the treaty. It is concerning.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's never forget that there are many minions, many of these satanic New World Order agenda motherfuckers out there who are implementing the agendas, who are putting them in play, greenlighting them, and the optics are high. The optics are in your face. And never forget that. I'm Snafu Snaps. You guys are SnafuKrew. If you want to help me out, hit that PayPal below in the description link. But most of all, keep being you, the crew, the glue. Each and every one of you. #truth, yo.
Corporations, NGOs, religion, the media. world of science. Hollywood and Bollywood. Domain of air and space. Royal families. And last but not least, they penetrated the world of politics. Think prime ministers, presidents and advisors to the president, ministers, ambassadors, members of Congress and Parliament, senators and mayors. We're talking thousands and thousands of cabal puppets, longing for a piece of the money and power pie, who were trained by the WEF and put in high positions around the world.
Wake up and make the change that will turn this planet from a prison into the paradise it once was and the paradise it will become again.
Fuck your pronouns, can't compel my speech. A road to authoritarian hell we're heading down, but you fell asleep. You're digging your own graves to be buried in, but they sell the sheep. A fairy tale of convenience, a prison without walls, or you think you're free. A life that's meaningless, where you're a criminal if you dare to speak against the mutilation of children, cause they feminize men and become scared and weak. The nefarious elites are preparing to release an airborne disease. Governments controlled by corporate greed control the population with poisonous vaccines. Drill them on a cobalt for cars with a battery, suppressing technology that will produce energy naturally. Stand for something or fall for anything. We must stand together against the enemy. Only the people united will set us free from tyranny. Stand for something or fall for anything. We must stand together against the enemy. Only the people united will set us free from tyranny. In a world where we celebrate degeneracy, the land of the free will be but a memory. So stand with me against the enemy. But there's too many confused about their identity. There's only two genders, but you pretend to be something that you're not.
Honey.